Hi there, I'm Nancy Walton with the Autism Support Network Society. Our organization focuses on helping parents set up quality therapy programs for their children who have autism. And today I am going to do a presentation on running an effective home-based ABA team. So there are many advantages to a home-based program that will greatly affect your child's life at home, at school, and out in the community. Your family will live and breathe ABA, and you will be great at generalizing programs. You will be able to arrange play dates with other children in the neighborhood, which reduces the likelihood of loneliness in school. And you can get double the therapy hours for the same price than you can if you're in a clinic. But as you'll see in this presentation, it's not easy to run a home-based team. It's not for everyone, and we at the ASN completely respect your decision if you go with a clinic-based support. So I'm going to briefly talk about getting the right consultant. I already talk about this in the Welcome to Autism Part 4, actually Part 3 and 4. And I recommend you watch those videos. I'm going to talk about hiring and training BIs, supporting your team, organizing your team, and how much parent involvement you should have. So first of all, we have some definitions. We have behavior consultants. They usually cost around $125 to $200 an hour, and they will design the programs for your child. And we have behavior interventionists, or sometimes you'll hear older parents calling them therapists. They run the programs one-on-one with your child. The term behavior consultant is what you will see in the RASP list. That's the Registry for Autism Service Providers. In the chat, you'll often hear people say behavior consultant, or BC for short. Sometimes they'll say BCBA, which means board certified behavior analyst. And some say BA for behavior analyst, and that's likely just short for board certified behavior analyst. However, behavior consultant is a general term for someone who works with autistic individuals. Anyone can put up their shingle and claim to be a behavior consultant. But a board certified behavior analyst has a master's or doctorate degree level training in the field of applied behavior analysis, or ABA, and they have significant supervised experience doing ABA with autistic individuals. In BC, you must have a BCBA overseeing your program through autism funding, or AFU, when your child is under the age of 6. The AFU then allows you to use any kind of behavior consultant when your child's over the age of 6. But we strongly recommend at the Autism Support Network that you always have a board certified behavior analyst, or BCBA, involved. So I will mostly use the term BCBA because that is what we strongly recommend. So I cannot stress the importance of watching Part 3 and 4 of the Welcome to Autism series. It's on our website. It looks just like this, because I talk more in depth about what a good ABA therapy looks like and what to look for in a behavior consultant. I'm going to touch on that now, but I'm going to be fairly brief. So the RASP list, that's the Registry for Autism Service Providers, has good and bad consultants. You can search behavior consultant as well as speech and language pathologist or occupational therapist, but you can't specifically search BCBA, unfortunately. However, when you do look at individual profiles, you will see if they are BCBA or not. BCBAs should be able to program for language, eating skills, academic skills, fine motor, gross motor skills, sensory issues, any novel issues that arise. If BCBA offers you a BCABA, that is a board certified assistant to the behavior analyst. They can save a lot of money. They're cheaper. They take on fewer clients, so they tend to focus more on your child, but they must be supervised by a BCBA. And sometimes they are called junior consultants or an intern. So finding the right BCBA is important for attracting and keeping behavior interventionists. Sometimes programs fall apart because there's poor quality behavior consultant involved and the BIs do not feel effective or well trained. So that's why that's so important. Now, there are other therapies like physical therapy. If your child has any physical or language issues, once you have your home team established with a BCBA, you might want to bring in a speech and language pathologist or an occupational therapist to provide exercises that the BCBA can then incorporate into programs for the BIs, the behavior interventionists, to regularly practice with your child. You might also hire a second BCBA who specializes in eating issues or sleep issues. If at any time you feel something can be improved with a specialized therapy or a specialized BCBA, discuss this with your BCBA consultant. What does a good BCBA consultant do? They should write programs that target developmental, behavioral, and personal goals for your child as soon as they have met your child. They should supply the team with a binder of written programs and sheets for taking data and graphing data. You learn more about this in Welcome to Autism 1 and 2. Sorry, in Welcome to Autism 3 and 4. They will train the BIs, the behavior interventionists, on how to deliver the programs with the child. Then they will regularly check data and hold team meetings to teach new programs and ensure consistency. Now, outside the Lower Mainland, there are BCBAs available, but they may be hard to get. You can join the ASN Parent Facebook group and find other parents in your area and then bring a consultant into your area to train your BIs. So I've got people joining the group here. Behavior interventionists do not need to be experienced. There should be people available in the community that can work as a behavior interventionist, but it's important for you to get a good board certified behavior analyst into your area to train them up. This is like planting seeds in your community. In the year 2000, when my son started therapy, there was no funding, but also no consultants of any kind. Parents flew consultants in from the United States to train up our teams for our children. All of my BIs were green, inexperienced for the first year. At least 5 of my old BIs who were once green on my team went on to become BCBAs in BC. So you can build a future in your community. BIs can become SLPs, OTs, the occupational therapists, teachers, first responders, or doctors, all who will have training with autistics. There's a long road ahead of you, so help build a good community for your child. Hiring and training BIs. So on the ASN website, the Autism Support Network website, on our therapy page, you will find examples of ads and questions you can ask a prospective behavior interventionist. When you post an ad, put in something you would like your child to learn. One time I posted an ad in Craigslist seeking a BI who could skateboard. And then I was contacted by someone who wasn't looking for a job, but was just searching skateboard, and they came up with my ad. And he was interested in becoming a BI. Now, most people don't know about the field of ABA and would not know to look for work as a behavior interventionist. So the more we can attract people, the better. Another advice I give is go local, especially if you have a young child who might decide to take a nap during therapy time. You want someone that lives within 5 minutes of your house if possible. You can advertise in your local Starbucks or even the local high school. You can get applicants in your area and check references, especially if someone says they came from my team. That doesn't mean it's someone I would have recommended. So very important to check references. It's important to think about what your child needs. Younger children who tend to bolt need someone who's quick on their feet. When my son was younger, he liked lively BIs, but the older he got, he liked more calm BIs. So the BI should be able to take charge. I was training one that was so timid, she was afraid to ask my son to put on his shoes. And needless to say, I didn't continue training her because I didn't think she would be able to stand her ground. Having said that, I also had a BI who never seemed to have instructional control over my son. And she would come in and my son would be soaking wet because he would just go into the pool and she didn't seem to be able to stop him. So I asked a more experienced behavior interventionist to do further training, and the problem was solved. And she turned into one of my best BIs. So sometimes just more training is needed. And if you're not sure about something regarding your team, feel free to call someone at the Autism Support Network or email us and share your thoughts, and we might be able to give you some insight. Just going to read a question here. Is it more expensive? Is it more expensive a BCBA than a BC? Is someone new in the field? If someone is new in this field, it's easy to train a BI. So the BCBAs are likely more expensive than behavior consultants that don't have BCBA, because you're getting someone who's got a master's or doctorate level of training. Most behavior consultants, for example, social workers can become a behavior consultant. They've never had formal training in working with autistic children. They might just decide they're really good with autistic children, so they decide to do that. So you really have no idea what you're dealing with if you don't have BCBA. Can parents train the BI? As you'll see later, it's really important that there are programs on which to train the behavior interventionist. So the behavior consultant designs the programs, and then they train the BI how to do the programs with the child. So it is, unless the parent becomes something like a lead BI, which I did when I first started up my team, I did start some simple training with my behavior interventionist, and I sometimes have what's called a lead BI. I'll get into that later, doing the training. But yeah, if you lose a BI, you can get a lead, someone that's more experienced, to train them up first, and then the behavior consultant can come in. But what's really important is that there are programs in place that the BIs can do with the child. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. So here I go with the lead BI. If possible, hire a lead BI, sometimes called a senior BI, who has at least a year of AB experience, and they can flag any issues and possibly even move programs along instead of waiting for the behavior consultant, the BCBA, to look at it. And as well, lead BIs can train new BIs. This can save a lot of money, and it's likely it's more likely your other BIs are going to be greener and experienced, because there's an increase in autism diagnosis, and we have not yet reached capacity with the availability of BIs, let alone consultants. It's also hard to find consultants. So you'll not likely get experienced BIs for your team. I will say that if you hire a green BI, behavior interventionist, it's harder to train them, but they will probably be with your team a lot longer. So it's nice to have that. Yeah, some behavior consultants, BCBAs, come with their own BIs. That's fine. It's not necessarily better or worse. One advantage is you don't have to go out looking for BIs, but a disadvantage is you might like your consultant, but you don't like your BI. So then what do? Do you fire the consultant because you don't like the BI? And vice versa, you might like the BI and your consultant isn't working out. So that's probably the only disadvantage of that, but it can definitely get things started, and then you can hire your own green BIs to add to the team perhaps. So BIs must work under a board-certified behavior analyst. BIs do not have formal training or credentialing. Even if they have experience, they do not know that child. They do not know how to set up programs for that child. The BIs and even the lead BI should not work with the child without the supervision of a BCBA consultant. That can actually cause a program to start failing if you do not have a BCBA consultant involved. The whole idea of ABA is somebody has designed programs that are individual to your child and knows how to troubleshoot when things are not going correctly. And you need a BCBA with that kind of experience and training to do that. Oops. This is a screenshot of our therapy page. You can see there's a link to BI interview questions, BI contract expectations, and all of these are Word documents, so you can download them and change them any way you want. And there's also example ads and links to places where you can put up your ads. And the last button there is a flyer that can take you, that attracts people to our careers page. And you can take this to your local high school. This is what it looks like. So it is designed to bring people to our website, the Autism Support Network website, where they can learn about careers. And then when they want to look for a job, it leads them to our ABA Therapists in BC Facebook group. That is a place where parents and potential BIs can find each other. So this is a great thing to go put in your local school so that you can attract more people into the field. So we have a question here. My BC, which would probably be BCBA, is training me to be a BI lead because we start late on the funding and wants me to continue the therapy, and so that you can help the EA. And our EA and BI as well, they have more experience. I'm not sure what you're asking there, but if you feel comfortable, like I come from an education background, was nothing for me to learn to do the ABA, to become a BI on my son's team. I didn't continue doing it because I could make much more money going out and working as a teacher and hiring BIs to work with my child, but I could oversee the programming and in the beginning do some training until I could have a lead BI. So there's nothing wrong with a parent being involved with that. I talked about that more at the end.
So sorry, Nancy. My question here is, because she's going to the kindergarten, I understand that is a support in the public school, right? So they call educational assistants, but they don't have a BCA. So how do they gonna know what strategies and how to continue?
Yeah, so that question is better answered in the schools talk. That's a completely different topic. So there is a presentation I actually gave last week called, it's actually on advocating for your child, but I talk a lot about what's possible in the schools. The BCBA can, in Surrey, for example, and in some other districts, go in and train the EA and even provide the programming for the EA. So it depends on how good that relationship is. Lots of things are very possible, and I strongly recommend watching that video. It's up on our website already, and seeing what's possible and what you should be able to advocate for. But if you have a home board certified behavior analyst, you should be able to fight to have, you may not have to fight for it, but you should be able to advocate to have them to be able to go into the school and work with the EA and possibly even design programs, which would be great. I'm more focusing on this talk on the home program. And again, the advantage to the home program is you can have play dates with the kids that are at school, bring them into your home. They learn how to interact with your child. The behavior consultant or BCBA designs programs on how to facilitate a play date, and then your child can have good relationships with the kids that they're in the classroom with. So that's one of the best parts of it. Being able to put your board certified behavior analyst into the school would be great. And I strongly recommend you try to advocate for that, but watch that other video on that. Okay, so paying a BI. There is no straight answer on how much one should pay a BI. I couldn't afford to pay what other people paid, so generally I paid my BIs less out of necessity. In some cases, BIs will come and work for a team for less money in order to be able to work under a specific BCBA, who they may later want to train under as an intern. There are poor behavior consultants, and even some BCBAs are not very good. And they can't keep the BIs because the team is so poorly trained. And so some people offer more money to come and work on those teams. So the quality of the BCBA can help. And this is actually often the case in clinic settings. They don't have really good quality supervision by the BCBA, and so they pay their BIs more money. That doesn't mean that's a better program. Sometimes a parent is actually difficult to work for, and you may find it hard to attract BIs, and so you end up offering more money to keep them. And of course, what we pay BIs totally depends on the current market. We seem to be right now in a market where there is a high demand for people, so we may end up having to pay more for a BI. And that goes up and down. So you'll find in other times, the market is, there's just no jobs for people, and then it's much easier to hire and train a BI. And again, if you hire someone at high school level even, I know that the autism funding expects people to be 19 years old, but you're probably going to go beyond that funding. And if you do, you can hire someone in grade 12 who's just looking for a career to go into, and they would make a great BI and possibly stay with your team for the next 5 or 6 years. And I'll say that my own daughter started at the age of 13 working with children, and I hired someone who was about 15 when she started working with my son, actually doing piano programs. Anyway, so you can hire younger people, and they will probably stay with you longer. So training new BIs can be very expensive. When my son was young, I used to offer training without pay. Most people don't like to do that, but I figured that once they were trained, the BI would be valuable anywhere in the world, to be quite honest. They had the freedom to leave without guilt if the work was not a fit for them. And as soon as they worked alone with my son, I would pay them a full wage, which was usually $3 or $4 over minimum wage. And I think now that might be slightly higher. People who came to work for me by doing that training for free, they actually wanted to do it for a career, and they didn't care whether they were paid for the training. It was like taking university courses. They were learning about the principles of applied behavior analysis. If someone came and had already been working on another team and already understands ABA, I would usually pay them right off the bat. So as my son got older, he was not as cute and he could be aggressive. So I had to start paying people even for training. Some parents pay minimum wage until the BI is trained, and then they put them up a few dollars. And that's why I've missed a sheet here. Anyway, but you have to find out what the market will allow and what you can afford. And cute 3-year-olds are easier to find BIs for than aggressive 12-year-olds. And unfortunately, autism funding does not account for that. So when starting a team, the consultant must train everyone in a day or 2 session. There is an exception to this, and that is with the Hanley protocol. That is a protocol mostly for children with a severe self-injury or aggressive behaviors. And then that training is done quite differently. But most of the time, you are starting off, your behavior consultant will spend time with your child, and then they will design the programs and then train all of your BIs at once on how to do the programs with your child. If you have a lead BI, they will understand the programs more quickly, and they can oversee the training after the initial day with the consultant. And of course, the lead BI can train new BIs as well. And then after a new BI is trained up, your consultant can come in and fine tune or even just monitor the new BI during a team meeting to see how they're doing. When you fill out AFU invoices, never put training or overlap on the invoice, just put behavior intervention. There's no need to get specific. Otherwise, it'll just give AFU, Autism Funding Unit, a reason to reject the invoice. So keep it simple. Also, with your behavior consultant or BCBA, do not say school visit. It does not cover school visits. If your consultant happens to go into the school, just write applied behavior analysis or student supervision, something like that. Once you've trained up new BIs, get them to overlap with another BI who's not a lead, and this is a great way to find out if there's inconsistencies in the delivery of the program. So someone's got a question. My BCBA asked me to pay BIs around $27 to $30 an hour. The BIs are good and it's really working well, but I want to make sure that I'm doing okay with the money. And so if someone watches this presentation in 2 years, that might be totally different. And I, to be quite honest, have not hired anybody for 5 years now. My son is in a home. So I don't know exactly what the going rate is. That does seem a bit high, but it may depend on where you live or what your child's like, that sort of thing. You will probably maybe keep them longer. I'm not really sure. It would be interesting to do a study on that sort of thing. If they're working well, they're kind of worth it. If you can afford it, pay that much. I could not afford much more than $5 or $6 over minimum wage. So it really is up to the individuals. Okay. So team meetings can be anywhere from once a week to once every 2 months, depending on you have a younger or an older child. And team meetings are time for the BCBA to identify any inconsistencies and create new programs. At least one parent should try to attend the team meeting, and the training of the new BIs is stressful for everyone, but green BIs do stay a lot longer. So team meetings are extremely important, though. They're very expensive to do, but it's important that everybody is consistent with what is going on in the team. Otherwise, the child gets very confused. So that's important. It's also nice as a parent to be at the team meeting because every time you attend a meeting, it's like taking coursework on Applied Behavior Analysis 101. You are going to become very adept at applied behavior analysis, and it's very important to have these skills for life so that you can fully understand how it works and how your child learns. Just a little beware. If you are going with a clinic instead of home-based therapy, someone once told me that the clinic did not have team meetings or any startup costs. In that case, one has to wonder if the programs have actually been written by a BCBA and if the BIs are actually trained. So make sure you know if this is going on or not. Oops, let's click here. Okay, training binder. Some consultants have very rigid training program and will create a training binder and actually a training process for a new BI. But if you don't have one, you can ask your lead BI or your consultant to make one, or you can even make one. You might want the new BI to watch out for behaviors that the more experienced BIs now have under instructional control. The new BI is more likely to see it when they start working alone with the child. So you might want those listed in this training binder. There might be specific prompts or phrases that can set the child off, and you want everyone to be aware of that. You might want to list what are good reinforcers or list lots of alternatives so people don't get stuck on 2 reinforcers, and encourage them to try new reinforcers. List what kind of outings the child likes to do. So again, they don't get stuck on one outing. And how decisions are made with regards to programming. What's the protocol? What's the protocol when a sibling is around? It's good to have all these things laid out in a training binder. And this binder is going to need to be updated every year because as your child grows, things are going to keep changing. So someone was saying the BCBA are in charge of the BIs, OT, SLP. Okay, so the BCBA, actually you as the parent are the case manager. You are the one that's in charge of the BI and the BCBA and the OT and the SLP. The BCBA and the OT and SLP should be working together. There's not really anybody that's in charge. You are the one that's hired them, so you are the boss. And if you don't like your occupational therapist, then you let them go. If they don't agree, then you're the one that decides which way we're going to go. You might, if you're perhaps at risk of losing your BCBA because the SLP is stuck on something, you may decide to side with the BCBA on that. So those are unfortunately things. I've actually never had all those people on the team. I did bring in an SLP once when my son was quite young. And other than that, my board certified behavior analyst was able to work on speech, and we got my son in. My son's very capable physically, so we had no problem keeping him physically active and everything. So maybe for this reason, it might be better to not worry about having all these people involved unless you really need them. So if you're running a program and you find your child is not grasping speech issues, then ask your BCBA if it's okay to bring in an SLP and just see if they have anything to add to that. Yeah, so it's not a good thing, I think, if they're not getting along, and it might be hard for you to figure out where the problem is, but I would get rid of whoever may be causing the problem and go with someone that is able to work as a team with everybody else. Good question there, though. Yeah, so it is, people are often told that, oh, you got to get a BCBA, you got to get an SLP, you got to get an OT. And quite honestly, if your child does not have physical reasons why they can't talk, so they might have apraxia, or they might even need a communication device, then you would get an SLP involved to help decide which device to use, or to help them do exercises with their mouth. And then the occupational therapy, if there's something that's coming up that you find you need to work on. But otherwise, most BCBAs have the training in all of these, in a wide range of programs, in particular language and speech. So you may not need them. And then you're not worrying about trying to keep everyone happy, and you're not spending $150 on each of these specialists as well. Okay, so mentoring your BIs. This is really important to not expect them to be perfect when they come on your team. These are young people and they will make mistakes. Sometimes students don't realize how demanding exam time can be. So take precautions to be able to deal with reduced shifts during that time. That will usually be December, and then again in April, I believe it is, or May. And yeah, it's April. And so often the BIs think, oh, no problem. Yeah, I'll just keep all my shifts. But then when the time comes, they actually can't handle it and they start like crashing. So just to help them out, always talk with them about it and take precautions for it. Do encourage your BIs to attend college, maybe become a BCABA, perhaps encourage them to become teachers or whatever, so that they are growing. And also educational assistants. We need educational assistants that have this home-based training. That's really helpful. You would treat your BIs as you would treat your child. In fact, BIs often start feeling like members of your family. And more important, they are our future BCBAs, counselors, teachers, and doctors. So do give them some leeway. If somebody keeps calling in sick and avoiding shifts, yeah, you might have to let them go. But do try to mentor your BIs. Okay. And always keep a lead BI in training. That way it's not disastrous if you lose your lead BI. And in the meantime, it gives your regular BIs a sense of worth and purpose. Check in with your individual team members, make sure they're happy working with the lead BI or even the behavior consultant. One time, a friend of mine, an autism mom, changed consultants, and when she did, her BIs suddenly expressed to her how miserable they had been under the old consultant. She had no idea. The consultant was a real pleaser with the parent, but very hard on the BIs, often making them cry and feel bad. So just check in with how things are going. And as I said, if a BI seems to be losing instructional control, try giving them more training with the consultant. Sometimes I would have a BI that gets so wrapped up on succeeding in programs, they would forget to have fun. And I would discuss it with the consultant, and we would decide for the BI to just stop doing therapy and just play with the child to sort of bring back that aspect of fun in the therapy sessions. So once you do have a full operating team, keep looking for potential BIs. Put those career flyers in schools and in colleges in your area, and Starbucks. It's a good place to find people. Tell people in the community about this field of work. If you have a paid ad in Craigslist and you found your BI, change the ad to direct people to our career page in the Autism Support Network. If you just go there, you'll see it at the top of the menu. That career page will also lead them to our Facebook group, Connecting BIs to Parents. It might be that you interviewed a bunch of BIs, you've hired two, but there's one or two more that are okay. Then ask your friends if anybody needs a BI. And then perhaps later on, they will send you a BI when you need one. So on average, I had a team of 5 BIs, and I would lose one about every 4 months. Some of them I kept for 10 years, but many of them moved on to other careers. So the more people we can attract into the field, the easier it will be to maintain your teams in the future. Okay, let me see if there's any questions. Yeah, so you have to sort of trial and error to see how to pay for the BI. Someone's asking me what's the best strategy to ask. You kind of have to get a feel for how the market is. Right now, the market is not good. It's hard for us to find people to work, and you are likely going to have to pay for the training of the BI. And that can get expensive. But I would try one of those strategies where you hold off that pay perhaps until they've worked with your child for 3 months, and then you give it to them like a bonus, or that you only pay them minimum wage until they're trained up. Be very clear that the minute they work alone with your child, they will be paid full amount. You can tell them what they're going to get paid then. And even for meetings, even for training, they will get paid the full amount. You have to pay your BIs for team meetings and for any training, even if it's further training that they have. Okay. So this is a BI information form that you can download from our website on the therapy page. It's actually not up yet, but it will be in a week. We're going to send you a link of these pages that I'm about to talk to you about. It's important to have all this information on here for various reasons, including tax purposes. At the bottom, you might want to add what hours they say that they're available when you're hiring them, and maybe even confirm that in email, because I would often hire someone, they would tell me their availability, and then after I hire them, it's changed, and it's really hard to know if that was me that had it wrong or if it was them that had it wrong. So pin down what hours they're available, just get them to double check that. And then, sorry. This is a daily service record, and it's also available on the website. And this would go in front of your program binder. So you should have a binder that your consultant has created with all the programs in it. And in the front, the BIs are going to sign in every day. Each BI will have their own daily service record. This notes the time that they started and end their shift. And it also allows the parent to check the number of hours worked. We have a problem. Many people have difficulty counting fractions of hours. It's common for people to put 0.3 hours instead of 0.5 hours for 30 minutes. So they think 30 minutes is 0.3, not 0.5 for half of an hour. And then they say 0.15 for 15 minutes. So it's important to keep an eye on that. Even adults, even people that have worked for the ASN have done that. So just keep an eye out for that. And if you have their time in and time out, it's easier to see if they've counted the hours correctly. And then once you've got their hours on that sheet, this is something you may want to do. This form is fillable. Again, you can download it and you can fill it in, change what's on there, put the different date in, change how much. This is an old form. The hourly rate was $10 an hour. This form is from 2011, so you can see how much things, like we're paying RBIs more than double this, and autism funding has not changed. Keep that in mind. Some advocating needs to be done there. Yeah, we'll provide the link in the email that I send after the presentation. I think it's actually in the link 2 hours before the presentation as well, so you'll get that. This is fillable in so that you can bill directly to AFU. So notice it has an AFU address. And then this one is in case you use, let's say you've used up all your AFU funding and now you're keeping track of respite funding, or maybe it's billed to you and you can change who the billing to is, and you're using daycare. So just to clarify, I have always worked and my son needed full-on support all the time. In fact, right now he has 24/7 support. And so I had daycare for him. Even when he was 14, 15 years old, he needed one-on-one daycare. And so that was my ABA therapy. Whenever he was in daycare, they were ABA therapists. So sometimes the ABA therapy would get claimed in autism funding unit. Sometimes it would be claimed as supported child development, which is a little extra money I got towards daycare, or sometimes it would just be simply daycare expense. And I even went over the daycare expenses a couple of years because you're only allowed to claim so much for daycare. Daycare, you get to write off the top of your income. So you get, like if I'm at a 40% tax or a rate there, I get to take it off that. I get 40% of that money back. Medical expenses, if you would claim whatever's left on medical expenses, you can claim a BI, but not a behavior consultant. And you get 15% tax back. So it's a tax credit. It's not a write-off. Anyway, you can give the BIs these forms, but it might be easier for you to fill them out yourself. And make sure you never pay someone until they have signed this form, because for CRA or for anything, you're going to need to have proof that they received payment. And if they did not sign that form, you don't have that proof. And let's say they quit all of a sudden and disappear, and you can't get a signature. At the end of the year, it's nice to give a summary receipt of payment so that your BIs can use one little form instead of all those individual invoices that they may get every 2 weeks or every month. Again, state the purpose of the work. Is it daycare? Is it AFU? Usually we talked about my autism funding going to the behavior consultant, and my BIs were sometimes daycare services instead. make sure you're not receipting the same work twice. So if you're keeping track of all the hours somebody worked, you have every month how much they worked, then the amount that you write on a receipt for AFU plus the amount you write on the receipt for daycare for that person should add up to their total amount. So you're not double dipping, so to speak. You'll get caught on that. You do not want, you could get audited by CRA or even AFU, although I've never heard of that. Okay. There is another website, asdfunding.com, and that is specifically for BC tax tips and more. Very useful website. All of the forms I just showed you are actually also on that website under files here. It's actually just a list, whereas ours are more interacted with various things in our website as we talk about things. But if you want to get some tax tips, asdfunding.com is a very good place to go, set up by a parent who interviewed lots of other parents and got their tips and their shared experience, and he's put that all in here. So excellent website to go to. We have a link for it on our website in our resources, but you can, maybe I'll just even write it down here. Okay, so that should, you can just click on that and it'll open up for you. Very good website to look at. Okay, here's a few miscellaneous tips. If possible, watch some YouTube videos about how to use Excel or Google Sheets to keep track of your expenses and contract work. I'm a math teacher, so this was easy for me to do, but if you don't know much about it, they're really amazing. You can add columns, very easy. You just type in all the things you need, and then there's a formula you can put in to add the whole column, and poof, it adds it up. And you can make a change somewhere up in that column, and it just adjusts everything. So Excel or Google Sheets is really, really useful, can save you a lot of time, and it helps you at the end of the year. It also is a way to keep track of what's left in your AFU funding. There's two ways you can organize your programs. Usually you start off with a binder. Some people switch to having clipboards so that each program is on a clipboard, and then you can just grab 3 clipboards and you can carry them around with you. I've done both systems. I've liked both for different reasons. I've actually switched back and forth a couple of times over the years. The clipboard system does require buying clipboards and a storage case with slots where your clipboards would go in. So this can add some expense and can take up some room in your house. So just keep that in mind. Always keep a lead in training. I already talked about that, and they can do some of those organizational skills. They'll feel valued. Make sure to review what toys and games you have for your child. It's amazing how fast time can fly, and you may not realize that your child has outgrown Thomas the Tank, or should outgrow Thomas the Tank, or no longer uses a toy. So keep an eye on that, and allow for some time for your BIs to set up at the start to find out, what happened with other BIs, because they need notes for each other. What programs are they going to do? They need to read the program. The programs are very scripted. It tells them exactly what to do. So it gives them an opportunity to brush up on what they need to be doing when they do the program. And then at the end of the shift, they need some time to enter their data and clean up. So just allow for some time for that. When my son turned 6, we realized we were in this for the long haul, and he was not going to become an independent learner. So we moved to a house with lots of bedrooms, and we took on international students so that we could get a nanny. The nanny was able to take the student and my children to school in the morning, and then do accounting tasks and ABA program organization and some house cleaning, of course, while the kids were at school. And then she did ABA programs with my son after school. It's difficult to find a nanny who might be capable of doing ABA, but having international students was a way to help fund our ABA program. So try to be creative and figure out ways in which you can fund your program, ways in which you have someone on your team, that sort of thing. So we did ask some questions about parent involvement. And before I do that, do you know if there's any mentors for parents new on funding? Sounds like there is a lot to learn. Yet there is a lot to learn. We are here for you. If you have any questions, you can email, like reply to my email and ask me any question you want. So the email about this presentation comes back to my email address. So you can email me anytime or get in touch with, I can get you in touch with somebody else that can keep closer touch with you and answer more questions. But I do recommend you go through our website end to end because we've put a lot of time putting our experience on that website. And the website is a condensed version of our videos. So this video I'm talking to you right now on is only on running a home-based team. But there are 4 videos just on welcome to autism. What do you do now? What does it involve to have a team? What is a behavior consultant? What should they be doing? And then school issues and how to advocate. So we have all those in videos and in written information. And we're also working on having translations into various languages, both in the videos. There will be closed captioning, and also translations of our website pages will be available in other languages. So we're working on all those things, but right now in English, they're very, very informative if you can go through them. Thanks for asking. Let me back up. I forgot to do this slide. So there's many advantages to having a home team. You can generalize programs with your child, set up play dates. It's a good idea to get your BIs to do your difficult work. So my son swam, but when it came time to get a new bathing suit on him, I would have the BI take him swimming just to get through that adjustment. I was probably the weakest link in the chain because I'm mom and I'm a little softer, but also I'm more stressed out because I'm working and living with my children, and whereas my BIs just come in for a couple hours and they leave. So it's nice to get your BIs to do some of the more difficult things. And again, don't try tackling those things necessarily without the behavior consultant designing a program. For example, if you're having meltdowns while shopping, the behavior consultant can design a program on how to very slowly desensitize the child to going shopping or work on whatever the issue is when you are shopping. So get the behavior consultant involved in things that you are finding you have issues with. They'll design the programs, the BIs will work through the hard part, and then you're going to be able to do whatever they were doing when it gets easier. Having said that, there are some parents who become BIs and even BCBAs. In fact, if you look at my Welcome to Autism video, I show some examples of ABA in there, and I talk about the BI, but that BI is actually a parent, and she has gone on to become a BCBA. Some of them work with their own child. Some of them go work with other children while someone else comes in to work with their child. It sort of gives them a break and also a different perspective on other teams. A decision like this is similar to deciding if you want to be a stay-at-home mom or do you want to go to work and use daycare. So it's really up to the individual. Never feel defeated if you decide you can't do therapy with your own child. Our Punjabi parent educator was just telling me today about a parent who felt that they would be able to do this programming themselves even. They didn't feel they even needed the BCBA. And after 2 weeks, they were exhausted and realized they just couldn't do it themselves. So don't feel defeated. It's not for everyone. And it's nice to have these young people come in, or even someone that's older. I've had older BIs too. They're refreshed. They come in, they work with your child, they can do the more difficult things, and then they leave. And then you do the easier stuff with your child. Just remember, I had to fly consultants in from the US, and I had no experience as a lead BI, but as an educator, I was quick to learn and understand the programs that my son was doing. So I acted as lead BI. But I feel that my BIs became more devoted to the team when I stepped back from that role and hired a lead BI. It seems like they needed that distance from their direct boss. I don't know if that was just my thoughts or if it was actually happening. So you are the case manager of your son's team. As I said before, you need to be able to advocate for your child, and knowing his programs is going to help greatly. And I mean advocate with your consultant, advocate with your BIs, but also advocate in the school district. You want your consultant to have a positive relationship with the school. So they need to be able to explain reasons why certain ABA programs are necessary for your child. You have to be the one to write letters to get what your child needs. And it doesn't mean this is in the school video. You can watch that too. But it doesn't mean you have to be mean or anything like that. We talk about being professional, how to write a very clear letter explaining what you need, but you don't want your behavior consultant to have to take on that job. Reach out to the Autism Support Network if you do need assistance with advocacy. We're here to educate you and empower you, and sometimes we'll even go into meetings with you if we feel that's necessary. And that brings me to the importance of supporting a wider ABA community. Get active in organizations like Autism Support Network. A stronger community with common goals makes a secure future for your child. So keep informed, attend educational presentations. I don't know if you're new to Autism Support Network, but we put on 2 or 3 presentations a month that are educational, on sleeping, eating, behavior issues, school issues. So keep an eye on those. Spend some time with more experienced teachers so you can come and volunteer at an event and hang out with one of our more experienced parents at something like Autism Speaks. We'll have a table at that event and you can hang out there. Or you can become a mentor to other parents. Once you get some experience after a couple of years, you can then mentor new parents. And you actually learn a lot from the younger parents that you might even do with your own child. So in my view, that's what got me through the years of raising a child with autism, was helping other parents. They say the best thing for mental health is not medication, but actually helping others. And I feel that I benefited more from mentoring than the parents did from getting my help. And the same thing goes for tonight's talk. I love doing this, and I feel very good whenever I do it. Okay, so that is it. Are there any questions? I'm just looking to see. Oh, when you have, okay, here. When you have an autism spectrum disorder child who has another diagnosis during therapy, like pervasive demand avoidance, do you think the BCBA doesn't have so they're worried the BCBA does not have a clue about this? Yes, I think you would likely need to talk to the BCBA and see if they recognize it. They should have experience in that, and if not, you may need to switch behavior consultants, or there are people that specialize quite well in pervasive demand avoidance. That is a PDA, is when the child, no matter what you say, the child is not going to do it, or they just somehow want to work against everything that you recommend. And that is a different diagnosis. So not every child with autism has that, by all means, and not in some have it in a small way. And some of them grow out of it as you're doing behavior therapy, but others simply do have it. It's their automatic response to everything, and you do need someone that can specialize in that. And we can help you out with that too. We do know some behavior consultants that may be able to have an opening to help out with that. They might be able to work with your BCBA, or you may just have to switch over entirely. Yeah. Any other questions? And feel free to unmute yourself. In fact, okay, yeah,
Hi.
sorry, I'll just read a question and then I'll let you talk. I'm gonna, yeah, okay. Is it useful for parents to do the BI training that ASN organizes, even if parents are not planning to do BI for their child? Absolutely, yes. When my son was first diagnosed, of course, I didn't have trained BIs, but I attended those over and over again until I think it was around the third time I understood every word they were saying, and realized, okay, now I know it all. So it was getting exposed to that language over and over again was really, really important. So yes, I highly recommend you attend. That's the only thing that we charge for. All our other presentations are free, but I do recommend attending that. I'm just going to stop share in case, stop the video, although I can't find it now. I hope I've been videotaping this. There we go. Cool. Okay.